Welcome, everyone, to Season 6, Episode 2 of the Not in Hall of Fame show. And I'm Kirk Buchner along with Evan Nolan. And we've got a big thing to discuss today because the Baseball Hall of Fame has announced, or the writers have come up, they've made their decisions, and we have 3 new members who we get to talk about today. And I'm pretty excited about it. It was the 3 that I would have predicted based on how things were sort of skewing. There were some surprises to me, and I'm looking forward to talking about it with you.
Yep. Very surprising. Yeah, I do like it's season 6, episode 2, just like my height, 6'2". Not true. Okay. No, it's amazing we've been doing this long. I do have to say that.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit less frequent recently, but only because we are busy as heck. You're meeting celebrities, and I'm trying to get stuff together for the website or in the hall here. So, yeah.
Well, I'll let a bit of a cat out of the bag on that one, although it's not confirmed yet. But it looks like we've added 2 nice English correct, 2 new people who are going to be part of our committee, who will help with the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. 2 former NFL players.
Mm-hmm. So, one of whom was at Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
And one of whom was a multiple-time Pro Bowler. So
yes, yeah. So that it's a pretty good get. We just have to sort of expand. We don't have as many women on our committee as I'd like. Now we're kind of skewing football heavy because I just realized I got contact with another.
That's true. I do have to say just a quick congratulations to one of my fraternity brothers, Mark Fine, who was just named the director of marketing of the Baltimore Orioles. So I tried to get him on this last year, and he never got the ballot. Last year, he was director of marketing for the Professional Bull Riders Association, but he just got the job of his hometown Orioles. He grew up in the Baltimore area. So congratulations to him. I'm going to see if I can get him on. He's not watching this, but if he was, this is so. But yeah, so congratulations to him. It's a lifetime dream for him to get this job, and there he is.
That's great.
So.
Yeah, so that's what we're referring, of course, to the United States Athletics Hall of Fame, where we're going to go for year 3, and we've learned so much, and it's going to be our best year to date. And the year after that, it'll be our best one to date because we're going to learn more.
Year 1, we learned how to get things started. Last year, we learned what not to do. That's
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this year, we're hopefully building on those lessons, and we'll have everything up and ready. And then next year, I think we'll have a much better idea. Next year, we'll have I don't think there's going to be a whole bunch more we have to create, if that makes sense. There are a couple of little things we're updating for stuff for new people voting, stuff for returning people, so it's a little bit different. Other than that, I think just the normal stuff will have to be updated. We don't have to create anything else, which will make a big difference going forward. So anyway, let's talk about the stuff people actually want to hear us talk about. The Cubs Hall of Fame. Okay.
Cooperstown. It's going to be a fun one this year. So joining Dave Parker and Dick Allen. Well, let's just start in order of the votes that they received, if that's all right.
Sure.
Ichiro Suzuki, we knew that he was going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The only question that was on a lot of people's mind was, what would the percentage be? And one person, I don't know who, because they did not make their ballot public, has decided that they didn't think that he was a Hall of Famer. So Ichiro gets in on a near perfect ballot.
Yeah, I'd like to think it's the same person who didn't vote for Derek Jeter, just to make myself, feel better about the whole thing. Because both of them have 99.7%. Ichiro's is percentage points higher because more people voted for him in his ballot than in 2020. So he technically has the second highest percentage total ever. But I mean, there was no question Ichiro was going to get in. One of the most electrifying athletes of my lifetime. And I mean, and this is from a guy who didn't hit a ton of home runs, but he was the guy who could turn a dribbler down the third baseline into exciting baseball, which is something very many people can do. So
I would love to hear the rationale of the individual who didn't vote.
We'll never hear that person will never come out.
No, but I mean, so I was trying to think, what could it be? The only thing I can think of, Well, there's a few things I could think of. I mean, statistically, maybe if you're just pure on sabermetrics, there are people considerably better than Ichiro. Saying that, I mean, B-War, as much as I sort of use that as a standard for a lot of things, like every stat, it's not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I can think of was, do they maybe just don't want to have another perfect ballot? Maybe they're against that because they're so special on Rivera. But
that's one of the things. Maybe they went to Japan once and hit on a girl and she kissed them, and they're just taking it out on that. It's like, who freaking knows?
It could be that, or it could have been one of the Japanese voters, because there are some.
There are some. That is true. Yeah. But going back to that, Ichiro now becomes the first player born in Japan to join the Baseball Hall of Fame. I believe he's the first person born in Asia to join the Baseball Hall of Fame. Am I correct in that? Because I think everyone else is Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic.
I would think so, unless someone was born on an army base there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the first person born not on the Americas to make the base. Although, what's his name? It's technically from the Netherlands with Curacao, but regardless, it's still the American continent.
Well, Bert Blyleven actually born in the Netherlands.
Oh, sorry, Bert Blyleven. So I guess he's the first. He was the first person born in Europe, and Ichiro's first person born in Japan. But I mean, there was no question Ichiro was going to be the choice here.
Also today, the Mariners have announced that they're going to be retiring his number, because I believe that's how they look at it. You've got to sort of reach that point. Although I don't think that's for everyone. Doesn't like Alvin? I think Alvin Davis, doesn't they retire his number, or is it just their?
I mean, there are points in certain franchises where you just got to do something. And so it's not that surprising that Alvin Davis or someone who's really good for the down years of that. I did think it was interesting, though, actually, yesterday, they were interviewing Ichiro on the Baseball Network, and they brought in Ken Griffey Jr. And Griffey said, hey, now we have a president, vice president, and secretary of the Mariners, members of the Baseball Hall of Fame, saying him, Edgar Martinez, and Ichiro. And I'm like, Randy Johnson, apparently not on Ken Griffey's radar. Yeah, it's the fourth Mariner in the Hall of Fame. First person from Japan. One of the greatest arms I've ever seen in baseball. Just absolutely deadly, and just an incredibly exciting player. And technically, I know we're not counting minor league hits, but if his people say that the Japanese league is not as good as the U.S. league, it's quadruple A. But if you include his Japanese hits as a professional top level league, he has more hits in the top level league of world baseball than anyone else, even more than Pete Rose. So,
and who's to say that he wouldn't have eclipsed it if he started his entire career in the majors?
Entirely true.
It's certainly possible. He did win 7 batting titles in Japan before he got here. I think he was 27.
Yeah, and I do want to bring up his 2004 season, in which he had 4 months in which he collected 50 or more hits in the month, meaning he was averaging like almost 2 hits a game for several of those months. When he set the major league record for most hits in the season, I believe, was it 262 back in 2004? Just absolutely dominant for a very, very long time. So very, very worthy.
No, absolutely. Also, too, I didn't realize this. I thought there was someone before him, but he was the first position player signed from Japan.
Correct. Yeah, and he ended up in Seattle because the posting system was basically whoever paid the most money got him. And honestly, the Mariners were way ahead of things, but they never ended up. I guess capitalizing on that long term. So, but yeah, it was absolutely worthy. So,
someone when this all started who also got in, I would have given him a 50-50 shot at first ballot from the way the track from the Baseball Hall of Fame tracker by Mr. Tibbs.
Correct.
Yeah, he obviously told me something that he was going to get in on the first ballot. And that CC Sabathia enters at 86 with 86.8% of the vote. Cy Young winner, 251 wins, member of the Guardians Hall of Fame. Hell of a player.
Yeah, it's interesting that he's a first ballot in certain ways, just because of where he falls with other people who have had a lot of difficulty getting in.
Right.
Like his numbers, if you put them up or with a lot of things against like Louis Tiant, they're not significantly that different. When you come up with all the
or Andy Pettitte, who's on this.
Andy Pettitte. Well, we'll talk about him later.
Yeah.
Anyone had a nice no one had a better jump than Andy Pettitte for not getting in. So according to Jaws, he is the 55th greatest pitcher of all time. There are people ahead of him on this list. David Cone is 48th. Louis Tiant is 44th. Jim McCormick is 35th. Kevin Brown, 33rd. Rick Russell, 32nd. So Kurt Schilling's 23rd. Like there are a whole bunch of people ahead of him. Roger Clemens is third, but that's a whole separate issue, of course. Yeah. But there are a whole bunch of people ahead of him who've had a whole heck of a lot of trouble getting in. And I'm not saying CC Sabathia is not a Hall of Fame. Don't get me wrong with that. I'm just saying I'm surprised it was the first ballot. That's all.
No, same. I'm happy for him. He's someone who, if I had a real vote, I would have probably voted for. But it is something that I don't think automatically. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Others like him, by the way, Brett Saberhagen, and it was 57th. Like I said, he's 55th. And one of my favorite names of all time in 60th, Urban Shocker, is in 60th position. Tony Mullane in 61st, Dave Stieb, Kevin Appier, Chuck Finley, Eddie Chacot, Johan Santana. These are all people who have no real shot, who have had a lot of difficulty getting in, and he got in just real easily. So it's interesting. I mean, he had the most innings pitched of anyone in the wild card era. But it's just, and he had championship. It's just an interesting thing how easily he got in and how difficult it's been for, just someone else about. Someone like Mark Burley isn't really getting anywhere.
Well, someone in his rotation in New York, it took a while in Messina.
Yeah, Messina took a while, and Pettitte's been on the ballot he got a big jump. I don't think he's going to have enough time to get all the way there. But yeah, it's but again, I have absolutely no problem with CC Sabathia being the Hall of Fame. And it's just weird it's the first ballot, that's all.
No, I hear that. And Billy Wagner gets in on year 9, 82.1%.
Year 10.
Was it year 10?
This is last year, yeah.
Okay, so I got that wrong. Apologies for my write-up. So yeah, and I think we knew that he would. I've sort of been vocal because I'm not a huge Wagner guy, but I don't really, this might surprise you, it's not bothering me that much.
Yeah.
I compare him to other relievers who just never got anywhere. John Franco never escaped the first ballot, but he had a much tougher ballot.
Right. Yeah. And then we've never seen John Franco really again on any of the other ballots, which is
Quisenberry is the biggest.
Quisenberry is the prototypical why the hell haven't they gone back to him sort of person.
Right.
But yeah, Wagner is the third most innings of anyone who has never started in the Hall of Fame. So a very, very good closer, relief pitcher, very long time, except in the playoffs, as you often bring up. But I think we all knew this was going to happen. He was 12 votes short or 9 votes short. I can't remember what it was last year. Yeah. In his last year, he's going to jump up and over. But I have to say, his trajectory bodes very well for a lot of people who are on this ballot.
I was going to bring it up, but yeah, please continue.
Yeah, so his trajectory, his first time on the ballot was 2016, right? So it went 10.5, 10.2, 11.1, 16.7, 31.7, huge jump in 2020. 46.4 in 21, 51 in 22, 68.1 in 23, and then he's in at 73.8 in 24, and he's in at 25 and 82.5. So, but he started around that 10%. place. So a lot of people are coming down to here, particularly a Boston Red Sox who's starting down that area. This is a good sign. If you can get at least 10%, you still got a shot at getting in, and you're not connected to steroids. If you go back to that 2018 ballot, basically now everybody on that ballot who's not connected to steroids who got at least 10% is in. Chipper, Vlad, Jim Thome, Trevor Hoffman all got in that ballot. Then Edgar Martinez, Mike Mussina, Larry Walker, Fred McGriff, Billy Wagner, Scott Rowland. The only people who aren't in are Clemens Bonds. Well, I guess Schilling's not technically, but he's just a jerk. Clemens Bonds, Schilling, Vizquel, Manny Ramirez, Jeff Kent, Gary Sheffield. Vizquel's not in. He's a jerk in a different way.
Right.
But pretty much everyone else who didn't have like some major mark against him is now in. Next, underneath him, by the way, Sammy Sosa. Underneath him is Andrew Jones, who we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, I think before we sort of get to those who didn't make the cut, next year there's no sure thing either. So
yeah, I mean, the top person next year by easily is Cole Hamels, who just by that same measurement I was bringing up before is the 71st best pitcher in history. So, yeah, if you look at next year's potential folks, next year will be Manny Ramirez's last on the ballot. But here's your names of people. You ready?
I'm ready.
The top 18 candidates, or there are 18 people who qualify and retired. They are in reverse order because it's more fun that way. Edinson Volquez, Kelvin Herrera, Chris Davis, Jeff Samardzija, Matt Wieters, Cy Young Award winner Rick Porcello, Daniel Murphy, Jason Kipnis, Matt Kemp, Gio Gonzalez, Hunter Pence, Nick Markakis, who I really did like, and I'm surprised how low he is in WAR and stuff. Howie Kendrick, Edwin Encarnacion, Shin-Soo Choo, Alex Gordon, Apohi, and Cole Hamels. Apohi, again, for those who don't follow us normally, is the anthropomorphic pile of human excrement known as Ryan Braun. Who I'm hoping will be a one and done. His Hall of Fame monitor is exceedingly high, but he's a piece of shit. So I'm going to.
Well, also too, we know how they think about PED users.
Yeah, PED users who tried to destroy the lives of the people who are just doing their job. We've got to be on the list. So.
And also someone who faked a racism claim.
Also true. So Ryan Braun.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it's a one and done, but given the weakness of that ballot, it's possible he sticks around.
Well, I mean, and that's sort of why I wanted to bring that up, because a lot of the people who didn't make it,
next year's a great year for
people that I think that like if someone wanted to was like our friend Vinny, right? Our friend Vinny Losmanuso, great kid. He would probably, and I think if he was listening, he'd agree with that. He'd probably fill all 10 every year. And
I mean, I could probably fill all 10 every year.
Yeah. But they don't have to, but he could, but you could. So I think in a case like that, it would be sort of interesting to see who, like, all these people can make a huge jump who we're going to talk about. It's very possible for all of them, except, well, no, it's impossible for 3 of them.
Right. But the rest of them, yeah. But I'm more someone who, if I think there's 8 Hall of Famers, I'd still vote for 10. Then I'd vote for the next 2 to give them some time to talk about it. Does that make sense?
It does.
So even if I think there are only 8, I'm not someone who would just give there's some people, one of the people, I'll just say it now, who didn't get any votes is Ben Zobrist. And there's a lot of cry here in Chicago that none of the Chicago sports writers threw him a bone when he was, so important with the Cubs 2016 run to the World Series. Like, just toss someone like Jim Deshaies got that one back in the day. But I'm not someone who would do that. But I'm someone who would probably have voted if I thought I had 8 people for someone like Ian Kinsler or Russell Martin or someone like that, just to be like, hey, let's give these guys some time to see exactly what this means versus just have them fall off forever.
Mine would have been to Brian McCann.
Brian McCann's another one.
Yeah. But we'll get to them a little bit later. So starting off with the people who didn't get in, they're making him wait. I don't think he'll have to wait any longer after next year.
No, next year will be it.
Yeah, Carlos Beltran, receiving
70.3%. I got my spreadsheet up.
Okay, great. So he's was close. We know why they're holding him back because of his prominent role in the Astros cheating scandal of 2017. Stat-wise, he definitely belongs there. He could have been before all of this. I mean, he was again another guy I had as a 50-50 first ballot Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll get in eventually. I think he sort of
he'll get in. I think we'll have a class of 2 next year, and I think he's in.
Well, he did go up by 13%. So
yeah, he jumped from 57.1. He was 7th last year, and he jumped all the way to 4th. He passed. Well, Gary Sheffield dropped out, but he passed the guy right behind him, Andrew Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Jones is at 61.6, went to 66.2. Beltran jumped from 57.1 to 70.3. So
Jones is an interesting one too because he's on ballot 8, if I have that correct.
Yeah.
So
he'll be ballot 9 next year.
Yeah. So he's again for Beltran and Jones. It's next year is a great ballot for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they both get in.
Yeah.
I think if people are going to want to vote for somebody, I think they both get in.
No,
it's just interesting because Jones, like I said, started at 7.5%. Pettit started at 9.5%. And Pettit's been stuck until this year, and I think he's going to have enough time to get up and over. But it's just interesting to see how much more Jones has advanced than Pettit over the last 8 years.
Jones was such a good player.
He was. Yeah. He's absolutely. Someone said if he retired at age 30, he'd already be in.
Well, I don't know about that.
If he got injured in like baseball, if he retired at age 30 to have 1,500 hits, and like the last 6-7 years of his career added absolutely nothing, and makes it look awful. Had he retired earlier, he might have had a better chance. Although if he retired earlier, it had 10 years in the league. So, he'll get in. So.
And I think someone who will see the biggest growth next year, but maybe not enough to get in, would be Chase Utley, who's right behind everyone. Well, not right behind.
There's a big gap. He's just under 40. He's at 39.8. Yeah.
But again, he grew from 28.9. Utley, he's got a lot of what the Hall is looking for. And if Scott Rowland is in, then I don't see how Chase Utley's not either.
And if Chase Utley's in, I don't understand why Lou Whitaker's not either. But
a lot of people don't.
I mean, Lou Whitaker is up next year. He wasn't part of this year's ballot. Mm-hmm. When it comes around next year, he's got to be.
I think so.
He's got to get in. Hmm.
Well, now we get to the same 2 guys that every year we talk about, and every year it's the same thing. And I'm looking forward to when they're not on the ballot anymore, just because there's no point. Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, A-Rod 37.1. He did go up slightly, but all 4 years he's been on the ballot, he's always received 30 something.
Yeah.
Same people voting for him. That's not going to change.
No.
Manny Ramirez, same, right behind him at 34.4. He's on what? He has only 2 more, I believe, before he's off for good.
Yeah. No, Manny's next year.
Oh, Manny's next year. Okay.
Manny's next year is his last one.
Yeah. So these 2 guys, and again, I think a lot of people take the line that I've taken.
Yep. You and I have the same line.
Yeah. And for those wondering what that is, once the PED sort of was agreed by Major League Baseball Union and both sides of that aisle, that's okay. It's bad, and we can be suspended for a long period of time if we're caught. Well, 2 of them were twice. The 2 guys.
Both those guys were caught not just once, but twice.
Mm-hmm.
Although, to be fair, Manny only got caught once for PEDs, and the other one for using a pregnancy assistance drug.
Well, I mean, I hope it worked out for him. Did he get pregnant?
I can only hope. No, essentially that pregnancy drug was a masking agent that he got busted for. But yeah, I don't think either are going to get in. Do both of them have the talent to get in? 100%. Mm-hmm. A-Rod, 100% would be a Hall of Famer. Manny Ramirez, 100% would be a Hall of Famer. But again, you and I have the same line in the sand. Mm-hmm. I have trouble, and for those who are new and are listeners, so decided year 6 was the year we're really going to pick up here. Our thing is Selig is in, Torii is in, Cox is in, and LaRussa are in. Mm. All those guys benefited directly with their resumes from the steroid era. All of them, right? How good is Tony LaRussa without Jose Canseco or Mark McGwire? How good is Joe Torre without, A-Rod and Giambi, right? They all benefited from it and didn't get dinged on it. How can you give them the benefit of the doubt, but not the players who are actually the ones who got the stuff? Once you banned it, once you banned it, it's over. Which is why Ortiz is in, right? Ortiz got caught in 2003 on the Mitchell report, right? And admitted that he took something, or he figured out he took something. I don't know. But he's in. He got in first ballot barely. It's 77.9%. But he got in because it happened beforehand. Interesting, Bonds and Clemens, who never got caught, aren't in because they're both curmudgeons, and David Ortiz is a lovable teddy bear who got shot in the big Dominican Republic, interestingly. But anyway, so some of the writers seem to have the same line we did. But yeah, I think that's why A-Rod and Manny will never get in. Pettit, who's the next one on our list, who got 27.9% and jumped up all the way from 13.5. He's been basically stuck in the teens his entire time here, right? Yeah. Hasn't really gone anywhere. Got a big jump this year, and just people I think looked Sabathia like, wait a second, Pettit's not that far off. Pettit only used once, remember? And he admitted it. At least, who knows whether he only used it once. That's what he said. He came out, admitted it, didn't try and make an excuse for it, never got caught again. So that may end up helping him go forward. But Pettit's next time ballots his 8th time. Even with the very weak incoming class, I don't think he's going to have enough time to get all the way to 75% from 27.9.
Well, so with Pettit, then we have someone who this was the one I was most curious where he was going to.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. I was wondering where he was going to end up.
Yeah. So with Felix Hernandez, I'm happy that he's advanced, and with a decent number too.
20.6 is a strong number for King Felix to come out with. Absolutely dominant pitcher, but it wasn't that long.
Yeah, I mean, like he's pretty much a lot like some other pitchers. One you mentioned earlier, Johan Santana.
Yeah, so Johan Santana, when he came up in 2018, now that ballot was a much harder ballot, right? But he only got 2.4% of the vote back then. But I mean, that ballot, we already mentioned Chipper Jones, Vlad, Jim Thome, all those guys going down there. We still had all the steroids guys on there. Sammy Sosa, Andrew Jones last would make it. Then Santana, Jamie Moyer, Johnny Damon, Hideki Matsui, a lot of really good players barely got anything.
Yeah.
So all those guys fell below 5% on the first and only shot at the ballot. Also, Aubrey Huff got no votes. I just want to point that out because he's still an asshole. Yeah. So it's good to see him there. I would love to see Johan Santana. I want to see I wish we had a cleanup ballot for guys who just ended up retiring the wrong year. You know what I mean? There's so many great players who just never got a second bite at the apple. It's weird to see like I said, Billy Wagner get in, but Joe Nathan end up at 4.3% and just is gone forever back in 2022. I don't think Joe Nathan necessarily is a Hall of Famer. I don't think he's significantly worse than Billy Wagner.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I've said pretty much all my piece on Wagner, but
again, my point though is he's never really got another shot to even look at this. You know what I mean? I guess I don't know what the way to do it is, but it'd be there. I just wish we had hey, let's clean up some of these guys who got one shot and see what people do with it, because there are too many of them.
Well, someone who I'm very happy for because he got a nice little jump and basically he got a lifeline, you could argue. Bobby Abreu, who really was just barely making it for every year that he's been on the ballot. Now he goes up to what 19.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's still an awful lot of work to do, but you can't get all the way there unless you make that first big jump. And now he's finally done that.
Yeah, I think he'll make a decent jump next year. His problem is next year's ballot 7. If it were ballot 6 next year, I think he gets in. Ballot 7, I think he's going to just run out of time, just with the way this stuff is going. I really like Abreu. I'd probably vote for him on this ballot. I'm having trouble seeing him. I mean, he's gone from 5 to 8 to 8 to 15 to 14 to just under 20. It's just not enough momentum. He needs to jump into the 40s next year, I think, to really have a chance. At least high 30s, at least 37, 38%. So
yeah, he'd have to overtake at least A-Rod where he is.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Another really good player, but he's trending, at least he's going up. Jimmy Rollins, 18% on ballot 4, but I was sort of seeing he only jumps every year by 3%. It's not going to do it.
No, he needs more as well. 9.4 to 12.9 to 14.8 to 18.
Yeah.
I mean, he's right. He's the difference for him is he's going to be on ballot 5. So he's at 18 on ballot 5 versus Bobby Abreu being at just under 20 on ballot 7. So he's got a little bit more time. We'll see. It's interesting that he and Utley are making these big charges when I always thought that Howard was the driving force behind those teams back then. And Cole Hamels, who we're going to see on the ballot next year. But I think Rollins has a shot with 6 years left. Put it that way.
It's the next year is gonna really tell the story of that one.
The next year will tell us everything we need to know about all of these candidates. Like if a bunch of these guys don't end up at over 35%, they're just not making it.
Well, here's someone who was at 35%. Here's someone who was at 50% at one point. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't have to look up to see if anyone dropped off a ballot more than him because it's just not possible. Nobody has probably fallen 30%.
In 2021, he was at 49.1%. In 2020 he was at 52.6.
We're talking about Omar Vizquel.
Who,
well,
was accused of beating the crap out of his wife.
Yeah. I don't ever recall him saying I didn't do it.
He didn't write a book about if I did it. So at least we know that much. So. But he actually went up. He went from 17.7 to 17.8.
So I guess one other person decided we'll slap him on a ballot there. I don't know. He's got less chance than everybody else.
Agreed.
He has less chances than all the people who got 0.
Well, that's not true. Because he's at least on the ballot. People got 0.
He's tied with a lot of those people. How's that?
All right. So as long as you're on the ballot, you got a chance. But I think where he's.
I'm not even going the Lloyd Christmas thing. I'm not saying there's a chance.
Next year's year 9, 2027 is year 10, and then 2028 is oblivion. He'll never make the Hall of
Fame. They can't wait to get him off that ballot.
Correct.
Yeah, they'll be happy to get rid of Manny. They'll be happy to get rid of Omar. And then the only question will be A-Rod unless Braun sticks around, but I don't think he is.
But put it this way. Someday in the future, I could see a committee after they figure out what the hell to do with the steroid era putting Manny in. I can't see a committee at any point putting Vizquel in.
No.
So at some point in the future, they have like a steroids committee and they elect,
there's not going to be a wife beaters committee.
There will never be a wife beaters committee. So,
and yet there's a shirt called a wife beater. I never understood that one.
Yeah. And Jim Tyrer is up for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. So you never know. He did a lot more than beat his wife. So, but that's a whole nother story. So,
well, I'm going to leave this one for you. This is your guy, Dustin Pedroia.
The Laser Show.
Is he happy?
Yeah, absolutely. His absolute Hall of Famer, he and David Wright were both, in my opinion, Halls of Famer tracks.
Really? Okay.
Until they got injured.
Okay.
Until they were both Hall of Fame tracks before they got injured.
Okay.
Now, Pedroia's big thing, Manny Machado, came in completely unnecessarily high and destroyed his knee. And then after that, he was just never the same player, kept getting injured. I think his last season, he played 4 games because he just had an arm and wrist problems and everything before he retired. But Rookie of the Year his first year, MVP his second year, major part of 2 World Series teams, heart and soul of that second team. I mean, he and Ortiz were the heart and souls of the 2007 and 2013 Red Sox. By 18, I think he was on the team, but he was pretty much not really doing anything. Pedroia, I'm really glad to see him at 12% starting out. I think he's got a legitimate shot at 12% of getting in. He comes in at 5, I don't know. Coming in at 12, I think I would give him a over 50% chance of eventually finding his way into the Hall.
Yeah, this is a good ballot for him because
next ballot's gonna be fantastic for him.
Yeah,
particularly if Utley makes a huge jump and gets out of the way.
Yeah, and I don't see it doing anything for Mark Burley.
I don't either, and I love Burley. I would love to have had Burley on my team for his entire career.
Yeah, and the White Sox were happy to have him. He was actually part of a couple good Jays teams too at the end of his career.
Yeah,
11.4 on ballot 5, but he's got a pattern: above 10, below 10, above 10, below 10, above 10 again.
Yeah,
I think he'll stay above 10, but again, that's not just a ballot is. But
I mean, next year he'll probably make it to like 20. But there's going to get to a point where Burley was the last of the old school pitchers, like the last of the complete game mavens. And I think history will view him more favorably than the voters are right now. So I don't think he'll ever get in on the main ballot. But long term, when people were like, "Oh my God, what's up with this guy?" He had, I don't even know how many complete. I can look up how many complete games he had. But he's the ultimate Nolan Ryan-esque, give me the ball, I'm the horse type guy. And a very important part of that 05 White Sox team that won the World Series. So
he gives me Jack Morris vibes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and he has 214 wins. And believe me, at some point, people are going to stop having more than 200 wins. When Jacob deGrom gets in with like less than 100, we're gonna start looking at wins a whole different way going forward.
Felix Hernandez, right? I mean, he's the guy who won the Cy Young with a 13-12 record.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
prior to that, at least not when we started watching baseball.
No, but yeah, he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glover, finished 5th in the Cy Young only once back in 05. But yeah, just a heck of a player. I just think he's one of those people, like I say, when they get to a committee ballot in 2048, they're gonna be like, wait a second. We have all the other people with 200 wins in, except for this guy, and they'll take a pretty good look at it. So,
yeah, I don't plan to be doing this in 2048. Maybe from my old folks' home.
How will I be at 24? That's my birthday this year, so that's 23 years from now. Yeah, I'll be 69. Nice. So, sorry.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. The relief pitcher that I have better than Wagner, Francisco Rodriguez. Another day, 10.2. 10.2.
Yeah.
It's higher than
which is his third highest number. He had 10.8, 7.8, 10.2.
It's a tough road. You'd like to think, or maybe I'd like to think Wagner getting in would help him, but I don't know that it'll do that much for him. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't know. He's going to ballot 4 next year. So there's still hope when you're at 10%, but you got to start making some moves next year if he's going to have any shot. So
we already talked about David Wright. He is on ballot 2 only went up by 1.9%.
6.2 to 8.1.
Yeah. And that leaves us with Torii Hunter, who made it to survive by just one vote. One less vote, and he would not be here. 5.1% on ballot number 5. He's never had 10%.
No, he started at 9.5 on his first ballot and then has gone 5.3, 6.9, 7.3, and 5.1, which just begs the question to me, who is like a bunch of very few first ballot people got votes. Who's like deciding Torii Hunter's a Hall of Famer one year and not the next? It's a weird thing. Because we only had 4, Ichiro, CC, Felix, and Pedroia are the only first ballot people who stuck around. 2 got in, 2 are still here. I'm just interesting to see him bounce around like that. So Hunter will never get in. I would still love to have had Torii Hunter on my team. I loved watching baseball. He was a joy to watch play baseball. So
no, for sure. He had everything you really wanted from a player. You knew that every time you paid to watch him play, he was giving you what he had.
Yeah, and in that All-Star game when he caught Barry Bonds' home run, would have been a home run in center field, and Bonds came out and picked him up and threw him over his shoulder. It was like the most human anyone had ever made Bonds in his entire career. But yeah, I love Torii Hunter. Would love to have him on my team, but I just can't ever see him getting in.
No. Well, and those who did not make it, we've talked about
the top 3. Honestly, the top 4. I'm a little surprised they didn't get more love than they did.
Ian Kinsler at 2.5%, Russell Martin 2.3%, Brian McCann only 1.8 for I think wasn't he a 6-time All-Star?
Yeah, Brian McCann is an interesting one. I'll look him up for a second.
Mm-hmm. And someone who had some great years in Colorado, Troy Tulowitzki.
Mm-hmm. Very important on that 07 Rockies team that got swept by the Red Sox, the best team in Rockies history without a doubt. That 07 team.
Yeah, of course, once he got traded to Toronto, then it didn't really work out too well for him. But he was still a good clubhouse guy. Another guy who I always thought might have been maybe he's not as good as I remember. Curtis Granderson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just by the way, he was a 7-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slug Award winner, twice got MVP votes.
Yeah. And rounding it out, Adam Jones, Carlos Gonzalez, and 3 people who received nothing. Hanley Ramirez, Fernando Rodney, and Ben Zobrist.
Yeah, Fernando Rodney, no surprise. I'm a little surprised Hanley didn't get anything. I'm a little surprised Zobrist didn't get anything. But yeah, looking into it, by the way, Ian Kinsler, just going back, it's just funny that he is always just slightly eclipsed by Pedroia his entire career. He was at Arizona State, lost his starting position to Pedroia underneath him. Then, they just were constantly chasing each other. All-star votes. Pedroia led, he was number 1, he was number 2 over and over and over again. Then when Pedroia got hurt and he couldn't play anymore, who did the Red Sox trade for? Ian Kinsler. And it's just interesting to see their careers go around and around themselves. But then Pedroia stays on the ballot, Kinsler doesn't. So anyway, going back to Kinsler, by the way, a 4-time All-Star, 3 times got MVP votes, 7th in Rookie of the Year, 2 Gold Gloves. Absolutely no love. So,
yeah. Well, congratulations to the 3 that did get in, and congratulations are in order in Chicago. They've announced the 2 new members of their franchise Hall of Fame. Derek Lee.
One not surprising. Let's stop right there. Derek Lee, not surprising, overdue. A very underrated player. Derek Lee was both with the Marlins and Cubs, was an excellent baseball player. Never a Hall of Famer, but it kind of like that's the way I want to say this. Will Clark light. Does that make sense? Kind of gave me like Will Clark vibes in terms of just a professional hitter who can hit for a little bit of power.
Yeah.
Always led to winning. And absolutely deserving of being in the Cubs Hall of Fame. And that we're going to talk about the other one in a second a lot more, but I just want to give a moment for Lee. Outside of the other guy, probably without a doubt, in my opinion, the most deserving, at least recent Cub. I can't speak of the Cubs from the 60s and 70s who might be out there, but of my lifetime, the most deserving Cub who was not in our Hall of Fame as a kid. So,
well, and now we get to someone who's, I guess they've made amends.
apparently,
Yeah, they said with Sammy Sosa, Cubs management ownership, that he would have to apologize.
yeah, Tom Ricketts, the voice of the people there,
and he kind of did, sort of.
I mean, I've heard worse apologies.
That's true. But either way, Sammy Sosa, whether he left on really bad terms,
he did.
The last game of his Cubs career, he said he was accused of, and then it was proven that he did because he lied. Said I didn't leave early, but he did because CC footage showed that he did do that. Allegedly, because his teammates started to hate him too. They destroyed his boombox that he had. So you couldn't really leave a franchise worse than he did. Well, I'm sure you can, but it was pretty bad.
Manny leaving the Red Sox was close. He threw the traveling secretary to the ground and got traded for Jason Bay the next day. So, yeah, I mean, Manny's leaving the Red Sox was pretty close, but I'd say Sosa's was not much better.
Yeah. Sosa, his reputation took a pounding. I remember, I'm sure so do you, just how beloved he was.
Yeah.
Not just in Chicago.
I mean, 19 for those people who weren't alive in 1998, I was in college. It was my sophomore year of college. Baseball, my freshman year of college, was dead. Like absolutely dead. It took them, I mean, Ripken in 95 had the game. Like we had to wait for his guy to play consecutive games for everyone to give a crap. Right? When Ripken broke the thing. Because the 94 strike destroyed a lot of stuff, including keeping Fred McGriff out of the Hall until last year. But like, and may have actually led to the Montreal Expos moving because that Expos team was.
I think it expedited it.
It expedited. That Expos team was freaking good. And if they win the World Series, maybe stuff changes. You know what I mean? But baseball was dead. The 97 World Series was between the Indians, who were a heck of a baseball team, and the Marlins, who were a baseball team. That what the Marlins end up winning was one of the lowest rated World Series ever. And this was back when everybody used to watch TV. And then 98 comes along. Chicks dig the long ball. McGwire and Sosa are just constantly they're in the same division. They're playing each other a bunch. They're hitting home run after home run after home run. They both break Maris's record that had stood, for at that point 37 years. And it was captivating all of America, like all of America. And then all of a sudden, people got moralistic about steroids, which was widely accepted. And I will bring this up. I brought it before, I'm bringing it up again. During that home run chase, McGwire had Abreu just sitting on the top shelf of his locker. Just to give you an idea how open this was. I can't remember what reporter it was, but it was a reporter maybe it might have been the Houston Chronicle. I can't remember exactly who he was. Said, hey, what is that up there? And basically the other reporters excoriated him for violating McGwire's privacy. Those same people then turned around and voted to keep McGwire on the Hall of Fame. Right? Mm-hmm. So I don't think anyone really realizes how important McGwire and Bonds should not only be in the Hall of Fame, they should have statues outside the Baseball Hall of Fame for what they did to save baseball, steroids or not.
Yeah, and after that, I think what really got a lot of people, it might have been Rick Riley who set a whole bunch of things in motion. I might be misremembering it, and if someone wants to comment and tell me I'm wrong, please do. But I'm pretty sure it was something I saw in a Sports Illustrated back when we actually read that.
Yeah, back when they had a website didn't suck and actually had a print version. I have literally like every Sports Illustrated from 1993 through 2006 downstairs in my basement.
Oh, do you? Okay, I didn't know
Or
that.
but actually probably through even probably further than that, probably like 2011, 2012.
Mhm.
I used to get it and read it all the freaking time. Dr. Z, Steve Rushin's weird article at the end every single week, like um, Frank DeFord, like the writers in that thing were great.
Mhm.
And now it got bought out by, big money, and they can run it on a shoestring budget, and it freaking sucks now.
Mhm. Well, he wrote something where he pretty much confronted Sosa about steroid use, and that's sort of the way I remember it. Again, I might be wrong, but I think it set the bar rolling. And not only did, like you said, McGwire and Sosa help save baseball, Sosa, I think, was more popular in a lot of places than McGwire was.
Agreed.
Sosa just seemed like that one guy, like, man, he just seems like a great guy, like somebody you couldn't stop cheering for. And then as other stories would sort of come out, not just that he was juicing, but that maybe he's putting on a front to the reporters.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, the one thing that is really hard for us to, myself included, and just for a lot of people, not just media, we don't like it when people lie.
Mm-hmm.
And if they felt duped, because when they went after him, they went after him hard. His performance in Congress, where he suddenly forgot the English language, did him no favors.
No, I mean, and that really hurt everybody. Nobody came out of that hearing unscathed. McGwire, I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about the future, the positive. Rafael Palmeiro, like pointing his finger, knowing that he was going to be suspended 2 weeks later. Like nobody came out of that, and even Schilling was there. They were hoping Schilling was going to, be on their side with stuff. And Arlen Specter, who was a senator from Pennsylvania, who was driving that whole thing, was really hoping Schilling would be a person, and he just didn't do it. And pretty much all those guys are not in the hall. But it's good to see Sosa at least get this step taken for him with the Cubs, because he deserves it.
He absolutely does. I don't think this really will propel him
He's not going
on
to.
the Veterans Committee ballot, because again, it's there's going to be the same issues that'll sort of come up.
I'm telling you, they're going to have a cleanup ballot at some point for the steroids era. They're just going to do it, and these guys are in their 70s and 70s and 80s, and just have a cleanup for like A-Rod, Manny, McGwire, and maybe a couple others get in. And then Bonds and Clemens are probably getting in at that point too. And then other guys are like Palmeiro's never getting in. I don't care what anyone says. 3,000 hits. Like he's not even talked about it. He's like completely forgotten. Juan Gonzalez has a better chance of getting in than he does. And Juan Gonzalez is completely forgotten. Two-time MVP.
Was forgotten when he was a player.
I know, it's crazy. Two-time MVP, completely forgotten. Plus, maybe because his name's like John Smith in Latin America, that may have something to do with it. But like at some point, some of these guys are going to get in. Particularly when we have some of this old guard dying off. Actually, matter of fact, I was at an event last Friday or 2 Fridays ago, and we were playing putt-putt at a corporate event, and they had Around the Horn on the TVs there, which I haven't been home to watch in 10 years, 15 years. And it was like Tim Cowlishaw and Woody Page were on there. And it was like they had just used like aging technology to see what it was crazy to me. It's like, oh my God, the show's been on forever. Cowlishaw used to have the black hair and beard. Now he has like a pinched face and like gray everything. I'm getting old, dude. I just realized that. That was it was a weird thing I had to go through, but it was just crazy.
If you're getting old, what am I?
You're older.
There you go. So yeah, that sort of rounds up the Hall of Fame stuff that we wanted to talk about. But getting older is better than dying,
as far as we know.
So that's my segue for who we lost.
That's good. We have a lot of folks that I am because it's been a little bit, because we've been so busy with so many things. Like I said, you're off meeting celebrities everywhere you go. But I do have a few people I think we should bring up. So starting with some of the non-celebrities, David Lynch, the great. I don't know if he's great. The director, Twin Peaks, among other things. Married a bunch of times. Um, had a whole bunch of different shows. At one point, thought to be like the It director. He did Eraserhead, which was an interesting movie, if you remember that back in the day. Mulholland Drive, things along those lines. Elephant Man, Lost Highway, also Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, the movie, which was
Awful.
interesting. It was not good.
Yeah.
But he was the guy for a while in there. Blue Velvet, which is one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. The original Dune. But yeah, he passed away at the age of 78. Do you have a favorite David Lynch movie?
Not really. Some of the stuff was just too weird for me.
I get it. I absolutely get it. Also, this is a little one just for me. Back in the day, did you ever watch the British version of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I think I saw it a couple times, but
One of the more interesting guys on that, Tony Slattery, passed away of a heart attack at the age of 65.
oh,
He was kind of the black-haired guy with a wide face, sort of handsome in a guy you see at a bar sort of way, like drinking at the end of a bar sort of way. But he passed away. He apparently had some drug issues over the last few years. He didn't look anything like himself, but he passed away at only the age of 65. Moral of the story: don't use drugs, kids. Also passing away, Charles Person, who's the youngest of the Freedom Riders, back in 1961. We were the people who did the buses down at. He went to Morehouse College, did the freedom riding buses down in Alabama, but he passed away. The youngest of them, he was 83 years old. So we still got some of those civil rights people around. Not many, though. They're all dying out, unfortunately, just like everybody else, I guess. Going into, well, let's save everybody else I had in that list. Let's go into basketball. I only have one name from basketball. Gus Williams passed away, the Wizard. Two-time NBA All-Star, was on that 1979 Supersonics team that won the first championship in Seattle history. Played for the Warriors, Sonics, Bullets, and Hawks. And All-NBA first team in 82, second team in 80. Comeback player of the year in 82. His numbers retired by the Supersonics, and I guess technically the Thunder. 14,000 career points, 17.1 points a game. Has his number retired by the USC as well. A very, very good basketball player. He had a stroke back in 2020 and had been in an assisted care facility ever since, back over in Baltimore area. But I played from 75 to 87 as a point guard. 20th pick overall in the 75 draft.
Well, maybe when the Sonics get back, they'll sort of hang that up again.
They should. And first of all, I expect the Sonics going to be back within the next 2 or 3 years.
I'm hoping I'm still here to see it.
Oh, I thought you were being morbid, but you meant you're in Seattle. So
yeah. No, I'm not being morbid at all. I just thought, because one thing I haven't done yet, I thought I just didn't have the time. I thought I would, but I didn't go catch a WNBA game. That's going to be on pretty big on my list. It'll have to be a non-Caitlin Clark game because the price is always quadruple when she's here.
Yeah, got it. All right. From auto racing, Martin Truex Sr. passed away. Martin Truex Jr., of course, is much better known than his father, but his father passed away at the age of 66. He retired back from being a race car driver because he saw his son was much better than he was. He raced in NASCAR from the Xfinity Series from 89 to 98. But yeah, passed away at only the age of 66. I don't know from what. From track and field, we lost Ralph Mann, who won a silver medal in the 400-meter hurdles at the Olympic Games in Munich in 1972. He passed away at the age of 75. Also losing, more importantly, I suppose, in terms of medal count, Fred Newhouse, who was at the 1976 Olympics in Montreal, won a silver in the 400 meters and then a gold in the 4x400 meter relay. He passed away at the 76. Member of the Texas Track and Field Coaches Hall of Fame back in 2014. Also passing away. Let's go to football next. Morris Bradshaw, wide receiver on the Oakland Raiders from 74 to 81, also played the Patriots. Member of Super Bowl 11 and 15 teams that won both those. He passed away at the age of 72. Also passing away from football was Bill McCartney. This will load. Bill McCartney, best known for the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes for 13 seasons, including their national championship season back in 1990 when they split the national championship with Notre Dame back then. A member of the College Football Hall of Fame is inducted back in 2013. Eddie Robinson, Coach of the Year in 1989. Walter Camp, Coach of the Year. Brian, Coach of the Year, all in 1989. Three-time Big 8 Coach of the Year. Played in Missouri in high school. I'm sorry, in college, but best known for his time at Colorado. Do you have anything to say about Bill McCartney?
No, not really.
Okay, just wondering. Okay. Going to, I think we should probably go to baseball at this point. Let's start with Brian Mattis, former reliever for, I always think of him with the Orioles more than anyone else. But he played for the Cubs as well back in 2016, actually. I think got a ring with them, technically. Although I don't think he stayed on the team the whole season. Let me check that quickly. Yeah, so he got a World Series. He played one game for the Cubs, still got a World Series ring. But he died of a drug overdose at the age of 37. So, yeah, don't do drugs, kids. That was my public service announcement. And if you do drugs, don't blame the guy who proved that you did drugs and try and ruin his life. Don't be a Ryan Braun. I can't help it. I hate that man. Also passing away, longtime manager and member of the 1965 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers, Jeff Torborg, died at the age of 83. Played with the Dodgers from 64 to 70, Angels 71 to 73. Also managed the Indians, White Sox, Mets, Expos, and Marlins. And the Marlins, although I think he lost his job to the Marlins. It was taken over by what's his name? Jack McKeon.
Yeah.
But he passed away at the age of 83 from Parkinson's disease.
His son was a pro wrestler.
Correct. Yeah.
Briefly, well, it was weird because he wrestled for WCW when they had a deal with Kiss, who would essentially sell anything for that. So
they were made for selling out, baby. Sorry, go ahead, continue.
Did they sell out if they always sold everything from the beginning?
No, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. Saying that, he portrayed. He basically dressed up like Gene Simmons.
Fantastic.
Yep. And usually lost. So I wonder how. Well, Gene probably didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to create a whole Kiss group of wrestlers.
Well,
kind of glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, probably a good thing. Instead, Kiss had to go on hang out with the Harlem Globetrotters in the Scooby-Doo gang. So, anyway. So Torborg, like I said, he passed away at the age of 83. Also passing away, former longtime pitching coach, Bobby Cuellar, or Queller. I never thought it was Cuellar, but he pitched the pitching coach for like so many teams: the Mariners, Expos, Rangers, Pirates, and Twins. But he passed away at the age of 72. Also played a little bit for the Rangers. But he was just one of those guys who just was like everybody's pitching coach. It was always like, oh, Bobby Cuellar got fired. Now he has a new job somewhere. But he passed away at the age of 72. Also passed away, Felix Mantilla passed away at the age of 90, played for the Braves, Mets, Red Sox, and Astros. Remember the World Series winning Milwaukee Braves at 57, was an all-star in 65 with the Red Sox. He passed away at the age of 90. And the second to last ball player who was played in, hold on, make sure the right one. Not that one. We'll get that one in a second. Tommy Brown, who played with the Cubs, the Brooklyn Dodgers in 44 through 51, the Phillies in 51, 52, and the Cubs in 52 and 53. Passed away at the age of 97. I believe he is one of the last 4 baseball players still alive who played in the 1940s. Oh, so wow. We only got 3 left. They are Ron Teasley, Bill Greason, and the biggest name of the 3 by far, Bobby Shantz. So who won the AL MVP? Let's remember the Philadelphia Athletics in 52.
I was going to guess 57, but okay.
Yeah, it's 52. So William Henry Greason played and got his start late. He played for the Birmingham Black Barons for most of his life before finally getting a chance with the Cardinals in 48. And Ron Teasley, also former Negro Leaguer. Greason and Teasley are actually the final 2 Negro Leaguers who are still alive.
I was going to ask that, actually. That was going to be my next thing.
Yeah, those are the only 2 left. Mm-hmm. So Tommy Brown passed away at the age of 97. 241 career hitter. So aren't that any of those guys left? And the last baseball guy before we get to the real baseball guy to talk about, 2-time All-Star Bob Veal, pitcher of the Pirates, the Red Sox from 62 to 74. Remember that 71 Pirates team that won the World Series, and also led the NL in strikeouts in 1964. He passed away at the age of 89. So anyway, the big name, of course, in baseball was just a bit outside. Mm-hmm. Bob Uecker. I should have said Mr. Belvedere actor, Bob Uecker. Bob Uecker, it's possible was the most beloved man in baseball. I mean, I always feel like he and Vin Scully were like the 2 announcers that everybody was always excited to see for anything over the last 15 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. Scully just passed away recently. But Uecker has a minor part in the whole Major League Series, but he is the Major League Series. And was Milwaukee baseball. Just absolutely was. He's the most important person in the history of the Milwaukee Brewers. And Hank Aaron played there briefly. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what else to say about Uecker other than he made everything he touched with baseball better.
And if he wasn't a ball player, he would have been a great comedian.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was one of the most frequent guests on Johnny Carson back in the day. Johnny Carson's the one who gave him the nickname of Mr. Baseball.
I was actually watching a whole montage of that on YouTube, and just how it was, it was one of those deaths too. I didn't realize how important he was sort of in my life until he passed away. Just like everything that he sort of did, not just in baseball, but in the Miller Lite commercials. Mr. Mm-hmm. Belvedere was a show I watched. It was a terrible show, but it was on for a few years. Major League, one of my favorite movies. Major League 2, which also is a movie.
Better than Caddyshack 2.
That's not hard, but yes, it is better than Caddyshack 2. Member of the WWE Hall of Fame. Those gifts was sort of going around again where Andre the Giant's choking him out, and Uecker just sort of does this face I can't possibly replicate what he did, but just the timing that he had. Also, apparently, the master of the cough button. So there's I can't really repeat it here because of some of the colorful language of it, but just Google or YouTube Bob Uecker and Artie Lang, where he tells the story of how he uses the cough button, and he just does everything so seamlessly.
Yeah. I heard. So there had all sorts of stories for Norm Macdonald. Had all sorts of Bob Uecker stories that are making the rounds too.
Hmm.
He's like, hey, you know that guy over there? You want to meet Belvedere? He's like, he's real fat, but he's a hell of a guy. But I mean, some of the funniest things of all time. He was once asked how to catch Phil Necro's best way to catch Phil Necro's knuckleball. He said, pick it up when it stops rolling, or wait for it to stop rolling and pick it up. Um, I remember when he won the Ford Frick Award back in 2003. He was a broadcaster, by the way. His last game was in October. He broadcast the Mets Brewers playoff game back in October. But he was a broadcaster for 53 years for the Brewers. But he got the Ford Frick Award back in 2003. He's giving his speech at the Baseball Hall of Fame and said that he thought it was a great honor, but he thought he should have gotten it
as a player. I rewatched that too. Yeah.
He was a career 200 hitter with 14 homers and 74 runs batted in. One of those home runs, though, was against Sandy Koufax. And when Koufax came up for the Hall of Fame and got in, he said he couldn't believe that Koufax got in. Just the fact he gave him a home run to Uecker should have been enough to keep him out. But like Billy, Uecker was just absolutely one of the funniest, most lovable people in baseball history. Member of the National Radio Hall of Fame, Wisconsin Sportscaster of the Year 5 times, member of the National Sports Writers Association Hall of Fame. Has a member of the WWE Hall of Fame, as you said. There's a Uecker monument outside the stadium. It's the 4. Can you name the 4 people of statues outside of American Family Field in Milwaukee? I'll give you one, Uecker.
Well, if I were to guess, I guess it'd be Yount, Molitor.
Yount is one.
Molitor's not?
No.
Oh. Probably Fingers?
Nope.
Not Pete Vukovich.
No. I already mentioned one. He only played for the Brewers very briefly. It was very important.
Oh, Hank Aaron, of course, yeah.
Hank Aaron, Yount, and Bud Selig. So, have you ever been to Milwaukee, by the way?
No, never been to Milwaukee.
So we hung out there. I think I told you we hung out there this summer, and Ludacris popped up out of nowhere. Yes. So we went to go see They Might Be Giants.
Those commercials. That's great.
Yeah, it was hilarious. So we went to go see They Might Be Giants up in.
Well, I remember you did that. Yeah,
Milwaukee. And so we're at the 3rd Street food court, just hanging out there. And all of a sudden we're here, get out the way. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And Ludacris, who's much shorter than you think, showed up. And I'm like, oh, someone did the State Farm commercial. Like, this is Ludacris. But apparently they have a great summer concert series there in Milwaukee. And his show got rained out and he had to move on to the next place. So he ended up just doing like a song in the middle of the thing, just as a thank you, Milwaukee, sort of the fact he was there. He wanted to perform one song. It was just random in the middle of the thing. He was like 20 feet away from me all of a sudden from where I was eating my empanadas at the food court there in Milwaukee. But Milwaukee is a lovely kind of little city. The interesting thing to me more than anything is there's a river that goes right through the center of the city. Mm-hmm. And all the bridges are so freaking low that every time any sailboat or anything goes through, all the cars have to stop for the bridge to go up and then come back down. But it's like every crossing of the river, there's like 15 streets that go over the river, and every single crossing, you have to wait for the boats to go in and out. It's bizarre. I've never seen that in a major city in the U.S. So we're going to probably go and hang out there again this summer because I really liked it. We'll bring the kids up and just see what's there. But they also have a statue of the Fonz, which I took a picture with. Yeah, it was a cool little city. I never really hung out there before this last year. So.
Is he jumping the shark?
He is not. He's just standing there like this. So, okay.
I remember still being so crestfallen when I heard Henry Winkler's real voice.
I think I told you I went to school with both of his daughters, and when his second daughter came, we just kept going different places on campus and the tour going, hey, and he thought it was funny the first few times. He was good humored about it. Eventually, he's like, all right, come on. Yeah. He wasn't a jerk about it. He was like, that's enough. All right, and just a couple more people, just for music. We have a lot, but I'm just going to talk about four of them. First one I want to talk about is John Sykes, who is the English guitarist. Remember Whitesnake, Thin Lizzy, and Thin Lizzy. Also the guy who wrote, God, what's the song for them? I had it in my head.
For Thin Lizzy?
Yeah, no, for Whitesnake. He wrote Is This Love
Okay.
That I'm Feeling? Is this the love that I've been searching for? Yeah, so anyway.
One of the ones where Tawny Kitane's on the car.
I can't tell you how many ones Tawny Kitane's on the car for. I know one, but the rest of them I am unsure. But he also was with Blue Murder, Tigers of Pantang, and he had actually 5 solo albums as well. But he passed away at the age of at the age of 65 from cancer. He officially retired from everything basically back in 2023, but he died of cancer at the age of 65. The other names, everyone other than John Sykes, we have some crazy 3 absolute legends in music passed away since we've last done this. First one I want to talk about is Garth Hudson, the keyboardist and saxophonist for the band. Inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994. Most brilliant organist in the rock world, according to Keyboard Magazine. Principal architect of the group's sound. He was also the last living original member of the band. He was active from 1949 through 2023, playing keyboard, saxophone, and accordion. Also played with Burrito Deluxe, not a big thing there. But from Windsor, Ontario, he passed away at the age of 87. But just if you like the band, the reason you like the band, I mean, there's other reasons, but Garth Hudson is the reason the band sounds like the band, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he doesn't get sort of the overall respect, nothing compared to what Levon Helm and Robbie Robertson get, that's for sure.
Correct.
Yeah,
but he got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grammys, member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a member of Juno's Award for the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, also on the Canada's Walk of Fame. As a solo artist, member of the London Music Hall of Fame, the Blues Hall of Fame, member of the Order of Canada. I mean, there's hardly any awards that he did not win, but he died in his sleep at his nursing home in Woodstock, New York, at the age of 87. So, Godspeed to Garth Hudson. I was actually listening to Take a Load Off Fanny the other day, which is one of my favorite songs. One of my favorite parts about that song is like every member of the band, they just give a verse to, and it just seems like they just made it up on the frickin' spot, and yet somehow it all ties together and it comes back at the end. But yeah, I love that song. The Night That Burned Old Dixie Down is still one of the greatest Southern rock songs of all time, and was written by Canadians. Anyway, also passing away, Peter Yarrow. You know Peter Yarrow?
Yeah, he's a part of Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Peter, Paul, and Mary. So only one left now is Paul Stuckey. Stuckey's still alive, but Yarrow passed away at the age of 86. Mary Travers, of course, passed away several years ago. Wrote Puff the Magic Dragon, but also a whole bunch of other stuff. I will say that Yarrow was convicted of having improper and immoral liberties with a 14-year-old girl. But that was pardoned by the late President Carter. But passed away from bladder cancer. But Peter, Paul, and Mary is like the 60s rock group, or 60s folk trio or whatever. I can't understand how they aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Does that make sense? They got...
Well, no, because folk isn't really all that represented.
It's more represented than you might think. But they have 4 gold records, one platinum and one double platinum album. So I just kind of feel like it just always surprises me they're not members of the Rock Hall every time, and they haven't even gotten there. I mean, if I had a hammer, Puff and Magic Dragon, Blow in the Wind, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, is them. That was covered later. So I don't know. Just always surprising. But Peter Yarrow passed away of bladder cancer at the age of 86. And then the biggest name I want to talk about this week, who passed away, Sam Moore of Sam and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Passed away. They are members of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as well as the Grammy Hall of Fame, the Vocal Group Hall of Fame, and the Natural Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame. But other than that, were they any good? Sam and Dave is Sam. So Sam Moore is the higher voice for Sam and Dave. They had a tenor, and Dave was more of a baritone bass. It was quite a full bass, but he was lower than that. But they were gospel singers, essentially, who got moved into Motown, and they had Hold On, I'm Coming, Soul Man, I Thank You, When Something's Wrong with My Baby, like a whole bunch of other things. By the way, for Soul Man, do you know who their backing band was for Soul Man when they sang it?
I do not.
Booker T and the MGs.
Okay.
That's a pretty good backing band if you can get them.
Yeah, definitely is.
But their discography is just amazing, incredibly important just an incredibly important part of the development in music in this country.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So but yeah, he passed away at the age of 89 following surgery, survived by his wife, Joyce McRae, who married in 1982, and by his 14 or 15 children by different women. So if you're a rock star, stuff happens. But yeah, Sam and Dave were absolutely incredible. One of the most important acts, not only out of Motown, and not R&B and everything, but just everything. They were active from 61 through 81. Just look at their discography here. Studio albums. Yeah, so Hold On, I'm Coming hit number 1 on the R&B charts. Soul Man hit number 1. You Got Me Humming. I Thank You is a big one. Yeah, so they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 top 40 hits during their career.
Yeah,
so
I know, absolute legend.
Yeah, Dave Prater, of course, died all the way back in 1988. So he passed away on the age of 50. So another just legend of music passing away. So yeah, that's all I got. I got more, but we can stop there.
That's good. So with that, this brings the show to a close. Thank you all for your continued support. I guess I'm supposed to do that whole like and subscribe thing. That would help us out. I'm not really good at that whole self-promotion part, but I'm good at
please like and subscribe.
Well, there you go.
Sponsor too. I'll take that as well.
There we go.
We've had one before. So
I'm looking to get another one soon.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that might come sooner than later. I don't know.
This has been a labor of love. I'm gonna take myself out of this for a second. I am an important part of the cog that is Not in Hall of Fame, but Not in Hall of Fame itself has been Kirk's baby for 15 years now.
It's the only one of my children I openly recognize.
Somewhere Winnie the Jet is whining right now. But this whole he joked called the Buchner verse. I mean, tomorrow we're recording with some of the most brilliant minds in football.
No, he's pushing it back. We're trying to get more people.
Okay, regardless. Soon we're recording with some of the most brilliant minds in football analysis. People who I got to meet for the first time going to Canton first time in person going to Canton this last August. Some of the most interesting and in-depth conversations I've ever had about a bunch of stuff. We are very specific nerds.
Very
right?
specific, yes.
We're very specific nerds. We are people who care a lot about Halls of Fame in general, particularly Kirk and I. Kirk and I, we're more generalists, correct?
Correct.
The people we're going to be meeting with on whenever it is, we're supposed to be tomorrow, but whenever it is, are some of the brightest minds on football Hall of Fame stuff ever. And I'm honored to be amongst them. And a lot of what we do is because the man across the Zoom screen for me had an idea, put it online, and now the website gets more views than any of the Halls of Fame that we cover, their websites, which is kind of cool.
I think so. Well, it depends on the season. Like I know Baseball Hall of Fame will be doing better right now.
Right.
But, yes.
But overall, I think we have more viewers in baseball, basketball, football, and hockey. I don't know about Rock Hall. But we have more than all of them on an annual basis, maybe not on a monthly basis. But I mean, the whole thing is because, well, he has a sugar mama who does amazing stuff. I'm just kidding. Which is why he's been to Barbados and Winnipeg and Seattle in the last like 4 years.
When you say Barbados, Seattle, and Winnipeg, one of those things feels like not like the other. But I did really enjoy my time in Winnipeg.
Winnipeg sounded awesome when you were there. This whole thing is because he had an idea, and now there's a whole bunch of stuff. So
more coming,
and more coming, and he works his freaking butt off getting this stuff up. Like just updating all the lists of the top 50 athletes in every team's history is a lot of freaking work. Like I joke about my spreadsheets that I have because I got a lot. He has to have more.
I'm not sure. Well, you know it's better than I do. I can definitely say that for sure.
That might be true, but
it's definitely true. Especially now that I got this new laptop, and I mean it's not Excel, it's now called Pages or Numbers. Like what the hell?
Oh yeah.
So I have to figure out all of that, and just when I've learned how to do all the other stuff, finally.
Yeah, but the moral story is like this is mostly a labor of love for the people who are involved in this, right?
Right.
So it's not like we get heavily compensated for our time.
We do not.
And the work we're doing with the U.S. Hall of Fame, and I know where they were on hiatus last year, but they'll be back this year, right? The fictitious athlete, fictitious,
right? Yeah,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We had just had so much going on last year. They had to go on hiatus.
Unfortunately, yes. Late COVID, we'll call it. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, well, a lot happened last year. Yeah. But we're going through this. This is all because we have a group of people who care about this stuff and putting it together. So, thank you for anyone who's watching. And if anyone who would want to sponsor, that'd be awesome too. We're trying to just do the best we can with what we got, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I have a real job outside of this, and 2 kids. And a lot of other stuff going on, but it's been cool working with this dude across from me here. So
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Even if he is older and shorter than I am. So.
both true.
But he figured out how to get us press passes to next year's Pro Football Hall of Fame induction. So
we're going to do that. Maybe we'll look at a couple more.
Yeah. So anyway, that's all. I got sappy there for a second.
I know. It's much appreciated.
I've never done that. I don't think of the whole time. Thank you for everything. But yeah, it's fun. So I enjoy this.
Much appreciated. And with that, wherever you are, wherever you may be, make it a great day because it never comes again. Take care.
Later, guys.